I like that second or third verse there where it says that. Best of friends of all is He. Don't you like that? Now when you go into your prayer time tonight, just later today, whatever, and you can say, Lord, aren't we best friends? Am I your best friend, Lord? You know, what do you require of best friends? That they're there for you, right? Huh?
Faithfulness.
Yeah. So, when you do that with Christ, best of friends of all is He commanded. Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 31. Deuteronomy. My, how I love that book. Don't you love that book? Oh, humor me. Say, yes, Dan, we just love that because you love it, Dan. Tell me what I want to hear. I want all this preached at my funeral. All 34 chapters. So you got 200 songs to sing and 34 chapters to hear preached, not to mention all the other verses that I like. Boy, this is going to be, you might as well have a 3-day funeral service. I know what's going to happen. Deuteronomy 31. I know what's going to happen. We'll see you later, guy. Be about 5 seconds. Verse 14. Again, the book of Deuteronomy, because Moses is coming to the end. 120 years old. If I feel like this at 48, I don't even want to imagine what 120 feels like. Nor let alone a 58-year reunion. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I was up there on that roof the other day, and I was thinking, how in the world did I do this 10 years ago? Goodness. Mercy. I cried out for mercy. And I looked to my right, and I looked to my left, and there was none to be found. None. Stood there all alone. Scaredy pants and heights over here. Sitting here. Get me off this roof. Scared eyes. All right. So Moses is 120. He knows that these are the last words. Now again, this is important because when you know, I was sitting there thinking about that Satisfied with Jesus song. Thinking about like John Wesley I made mention of earlier. 88 years old I think he was when he died. 33, or let's see, get it right. 33 he got saved. 53 years he served the Lord. So he was 88 when he died. Weak and frail at 88 on his last weeks and days of that. Got up in the middle of the night, sat over in a chair, and just simply went out that way. David Livingstone, who somebody asked me the other night about him over there. If you remember the story of David Livingstone. Of course, most people remember the famous statement, the doctor or the guy from the newspaper that went down to write his biography and to disprove what he was doing actually, but ended up he became a convert. But when he finally found him, he said, Dr. Livingstone, I presume, with that British accent that I can't do, so you can put it on there. But Livingstone, knighted by the Queen, great service of Christianity up and down the western side of Africa, buried in London, heart taken out and buried in Africa. He said, you can have my body, but my heart belongs to the Africans. What a great testimony. And it reminded me, as I was sitting there praying, and I remembered in Corinthians where Paul wrote this. Now again, Paul, after the road to Damascus, after his salvation, my golly, 3-4 world trips of mission work that he did, left shipwrecked, beat how many times, bitten by a venomous snake, threatened and ended up being beheaded last 2 years in jail. And here's this man, the Apostle Paul, who did one of the most fantastic things since Christ. Unparalleled, next to John Sung and some of these other guys that I read about, of what they undertook and what they did. But he wrote in Corinthians, he said, spend and being spent for the cause of Christ. Now, I don't know about you, but I know people. I remember my days running. I remember athletics and all that kind of stuff. And I watch these people do these triathlons and these ultra things today. Spend and being spent for exercise, right? What about spiritually? We're in the church. Spend and being spent for the cause of Christ. Just like I said, when was the last time you spent an all night? Lord, I'm going to stay up till 2 o'clock. I got to have a couple hours sleep. I'm going to stay up till 2 o'clock, and I'm just going to pray and cry out for the lost. Just want to pray and cry out for your church. Just want to pray and cry out. You know, there's a missionary today in some foreign nation today that preached their heart out and solved nothing. And they went back home discouraged. Why am I here? I left family. I left my way. I gave up, my way of life in the United States. I came here. I don't see anything. And they cried themselves to sleep, discouraged. Lord, I just want to cry out for those missionaries that are discouraged today. Encourage them, Lord. You know, that kind of thing of put yourselves in their shoes with that and all that. So I read here of Moses. And again, I don't know. The Lord, John Wesley, 88, David Livingston, long life, full of infection, literally praying on his knees. They walked in and he was dead, bowed at his bed. That's how they found him. But he had dysentery and lion had torn half of his face and arm off. Just horrible things if you ever read that biography. But again, summer's upon us, so guess what your summer reading task can include? Pilgrim's Progress and David Livingston's biography. So there you go. There's your assignment. You will be quizzed and tested. Okay? But then you read about Robert Murray McShane, 28, 29 years old, disease, travels, dies, but poured himself out for Scotland. David Brainerd, 28 years old, dies in Jonathan Edwards' home. His Jonathan Edwards' daughter contracts what he has, tuberculosis. She ends up dying. I think about Jonathan Edwards, great revivalist, and got inoculated for smallpox, becomes president of Yale within a week because of the inoculation, catches smallpox and dies. You see no rhyme or reason to 88, 120, 28. I can't explain it. And nor can I answer for myself or for you. But if I have the moment to say, Philip, come here, I want to talk to you. These are my last hours. These are my last days. Guess what I want to say to you? 34 chapters of talking. Is he ever going to shut up? I listened to you preach, Dad. I heard you pray. I don't need to know. Tell me. Last words to the people of Israel. Because this is what God had revealed to him. Now, again, it's not a pretty picture. So if I say, what about the future of my nation? What about the future as I see for Rebecca and Jeremiah and my next generation coming up? What are they going to have to live through? What am I living through? What happened to my generation? I remember Uncle Waco took me. I think I told you this. We were sitting up on the front pew of his church, and this was before he got sick. And he said, I want to ask for your forgiveness. What'd you do to me? With talking behind my back? I'm used to that. No. He said, my generation, post-World War II, we did this. And I want to ask of your generation, you, forgive me. I didn't do my part. I've had people ask for forgiveness before, but I never had anybody ask generational like that before. So what do we say to his generation? What do you say to your grandchild that sits on your lap? You got to forgive grandmamma, grandpapa. We failed you. We failed you. And now this is what's going to happen. So this is God reveals to Moses, and God reveals to poor Joshua. Moses comes into the presence of God, and Joshua sits in the back of the temple, and God comes down and speaks, and this is what he reveals. Verse 14. Deuteronomy 31, verse 14. And the Lord said unto Moses, Behold, thy days approach that thou must die. Now, is that the message that you want to hear today? Approach thou, call Joshua and present yourselves in the tabernacle of the congregation, that I may give him a charge. And Moses and Joshua went, presented themselves in the tabernacle of the congregation, and the Lord appeared in the tabernacle in a pillar of a cloud. And the pillar of the cloud stood over the door of the tabernacle. And the Lord said unto Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with your fathers, and this people they will rise up, and they will go a whoring after the gods of the strangers of the land, whither they go, to be among them, and they will forsake me, break my covenant which I have made with them. And then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day. And I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured. And many evils and troubles shall befall them, so that they will say in that day, Are not these evils come upon us because our God is not among us? And I will surely hide my face in that day for all the evils which they shall have wrought, and that they are turned unto other gods. Now therefore, write you this song for you, teach it to the children of Israel, put it in their mouths, that this song, it may be a witness for me against the children of Israel. For when I shall have brought them into the land which I swear unto their fathers, that flows with milk and honey, and they shall have eaten and filled themselves and waxen fat, then will they turn unto other gods, and serve them, and provoke me, and break my covenant. And it shall come to pass that when many evils and troubles are befallen them, that this song shall testify against them as a witness. For it shall not be forgotten out of the mouths of their seed. For I know their imagination which they go about, even now, before I have even brought them into the land which I swear. Moses therefore wrote this song the same day, and he taught it to the children of Israel. Let us pray. Blessed Father, we come before you now. You know all things. You know the days of our births, the days of our deaths. You know the days of salvation. You know the peak of days of blessings. It seems as that nothing could go wrong because you're there. But you also know the days of the valley of humiliation, days of the valley of the shadow of death, that humbles us and brings us down to troubles, trials. We say, woe upon this day. Lord, again it is that we know not what our future holds, but Lord, you know all things. Lord, again, we repeat the behavior of Israel. We repeat the same thing of forsaking you, breaking our covenant, losing our place before you, Lord, and following after with contentment and ease those things that ought not be. Lord, again, you give us eyes to see. We read these words, black ink on white pages. We have ears to hear. We have a mind to discern. We have hearts to be affected. But where are we, Lord? Joshua, to hear these humble words of what he would lead in the children of Israel, horrifying. And Lord, again, to know that the certainty of our future is in the balances even now. To come before you, Lord, help us. Help us today, that we would not repeat in the same behavior. We would not do the same things that Israel did, but we would learn. Doomed to repeat history unless learned from history. And Lord, here we are. So Lord, again, I beseech you, in grace and mercy, meet us. These will be the last words of testimony to us today. Here we are, Lord. May we respond rightly while there is time, because soon it'll be night and no man can work. We ask these things for your honor and glory in Jesus' name. Amen. I read these and I think to myself, if I was Joshua, I'd say, forget this. To know that these are the kind of people that you're going to inherit, this is the kind of scenario that you got to work with, not the most favorable of circumstances, is it? And what do you think about Moses? You think Moses wiped his brow and said, phew, glad I'm getting out of here. Glad I ain't got to see any of this. That sounds a lot like Hezekiah. Remember Hezekiah? God gives him 15 extra years. What's he do with it? Isaiah comes and he says, when the Babylonian princes came and he showed them all of his gold and all of the silver and all of his precious jewels, And Isaiah comes and said, who were these guys that you were showing around the palace? And he said, oh, well, they was from Babylon. They heard I was sick. And I told them how God healed me, and I got 15 extra years, and all's well. And he said, you see those same princes? They will carry away your children and your grandchildren into a far land, and they'll never come back. And Hezekiah says, what? Oh, don't let that happen, please. No, he didn't. Oh, good. So long as it doesn't happen in my day. That sounds awful selfish, doesn't it? Huh? You know? Moses, you think Moses said, so long as it doesn't happen in my... No, he did not. You know his heart. He was the most meekest man that walked the face. You know he had a heart cry to say, no, don't let this happen to Joshua. Don't let this happen to the children of Israel. May they keep the covenant. He never wanted them to fall. And there is never a child of God that ever wants to see another child of God fail or fall into sin. You're always praying, well, those are the Methodists, or all those of them brethren, and all those are those Pentecostals. No, brothers and sisters in Christ. Pray one for another. What? So that Satan not get an advantage over us. Keep us on the good path. Keep us fighting the good fight, warring the good warfare, doing what we're supposed to be doing. But do you read the words? I read them and I say, oh, this is where we're at. It says is that when they go into the promised land where there's milk and honey, good eating. Did you eat good today? Huh? Is your belly's full? Are you comfortable? Oh, good. Boy, I can't. We go out here and we have anything and everything. And our nation and the church filled with contentment. That they'll sit back on a Sunday evening and take the toothpick and pick out all the remains from eating a good Sunday dinner, saying, boy, I just tell you, we've never had it so good. And when you get that attitude, you're in danger. Because the next thing that comes after that, when your belly is full and your contentment is there, is that you lose heart for the needs that are at hand. And our nation, the church in this nation, is falling into that same place. Too many dry eyes. Too many hearts that are not broke over the sins and the lostness that's out there. And we got into this place today, and I was glad to hear it in our confession time. Very personal. Very personal of our lives, where we're at, where we're not at. And it's looking out there, seeing what's going on and saying, this all happened on my watch. This all happened while I could do something about it. My loved ones have left the fold. You remember the story, the parable that Jesus taught? He said 99 safely lay, but there was one out on the hillside. He said that righteous man will do what? He will leave the 99 that are safe and sound and do what? He will rise and go get that one that's out there and say, I can't lose one. And Jesus said that none of them have I lost. None of them, O Father, that you have given to me have I lost. We are safekeeping in Christ's care and hands. Our heart cry has to be that. We've watched way too many. Walk down the aisle, make a profession of faith, go over to the river and get baptized. And where are they at? We was reminiscing the other day about that, wasn't we? About the Sunday school class, all them little kids sitting around there. Gene was rehearsing about all of them. And 3/4 of them in jail. Oh, they all made profession. They all were baptized. But what did they die to? What did they start living for? What covenant did they break? That's a covenant. When you make a profession of faith in front of a church, you enter into a covenant. Just like marriage. I do. Christ, I do. I will serve you all the days of my life until I see you face to face, and then you can say to me, well done. Do you really think he's going to say well done to most that are in the church today who have not done well? I can't, in my mind, I cannot fit. It's like when Jeremiah brings me a box of a puzzle, children's puzzles. There's like 15 to 18 pieces in these children's puzzles. That's the kind I like to work. I like putting the faces together. It's very easy for me. All right. He brings me these puzzles. Now, there's only supposed to be 18 pieces in there. He brings me one. There's about 50 to 60 in there. So what has he done? He's put 3 puzzles into one box and said, "Here you go."
You figure it out.
Yeah, and I'm watching him, and he's making them fit that don't fit together, and so now that's the other puzzle in that. If they don't fit together, you can't force it. You cannot force lost people to act Christian. It don't work that way. And nor should you expect for Christians to act like lost people. So that when you go to a reunion and there is no conversation about God, nobody wants to talk about eternity. Nobody wants to talk about the Bible. Nobody wants to talk about answered prayers or miracles. You know, I'm in the book of Acts right now in my Bible readings, and I just love it. Signs and wonders. Signs and wonders. You know what a sign and a wonder is? It's when I stepped out last night and I saw a half moon and stars shining round about it. And I remember on the 4th day that he set the sun, the moon, and the stars. And he called them all by name. Miracles, signs, wonders. A pastor that simply was trying to orchestrate a Bible study, and they arrested him and they beat that man, and they bludgeoned him, and they imprisoned him for 2 years because he did that one simple thing. Not fair, not fair. Got the release. Got out. And where does he go? Right back to task. Still got to preach. Still got to teach. Still got to pray. Still got to do the work. You know why? Because there's coming a day, like that verse 17 right there, and I will turn my face away from you. Why so many drugs? Why so much murder on the streets? Why does a 16-year-old girl do that to that Uber driver like she did? Why has Manchester happened last week and London Bridge last night? Why all these things falling on our nation today? Why all these horrendous things in our headlines today? Because God said twice, verse 17 and verse 18 there, and I will turn my face away from you in that day. What day is it?
That day.
It's today. That's the day we're living. Why? No, Lord, don't turn your face away. You're trying to talk to me. Tink's trying to talk to me, and I go like this. Well, how rude. Look at me when I'm talking to you. And God's going to turn his face away from our nation, from our next generation. We're happy with that. That's okay. That's acceptable. On whose books? Moses hears that, and I know he had to have a heart cry saying, Lord, don't do this. Don't forsake your own people. That's how you pray for the church. Don't forsake your own people, God. Your bride. Get us ready. The bride adorned and ready to meet him. That means that we got to get back to holiness. Holiness definition is void of sin. That means there is no slippage of the tongue. Well, it's just a bad word that comes out every so often. Then let me suggest to you that you go, I don't even know if they have lime soap. Do they still have lime soap out there somewhere? I think we could mix some up, couldn't we? And let me help you with a little bit of that glycerol and wash your mouth out with soap. Remember the old good old...
Oh, yeah.
You ever say that word again, I want to wash your mouth out with soap. Ah, the good old days. Huh? There's no slippage of the tongue. You don't talk like the world. You don't smell like the world. You don't act like the world. You don't go to the same places. You don't behave the same way. There is a separation in the church. Bonar, one of Robert Murray McShane, the guy that died when he was 29, said this. There was 2 of the boys, the Bonar brothers, and they preached a thunderous message. And he said, and I looked for the world and I found it in the church. And I looked for the church and I found it in the world. So here now it's springtime. I'll see all the car washes for the youth group and the yard sales out in the yards for their this and that. And you'll contaminate the church and you'll be unholy. You come in and again, the spirit of holiness that's ought to be upon the church is that it's vanquished, it's gone because we want to be entertained, we want to be pleased. That's not the question, is it? Remember the song, offertory song? It doesn't matter whether the Lord's pleasing to me. The question still remains, what? Is my master satisfied with me? I have nothing to say against God. What can I charge him with? Oh, that's not fair. Oh, that's not right. You made a mistake. There's no charge there to God. He is perfect. And all of his ways are perfect. And I adore him because of that. But what can he say to me? Remember what he said to the 7 churches over in Revelation 2 and 3? I have this against you. This is the reason I'm going to turn my face away from you as a nation. Not because of Democrats, Republicans, not because of the Supreme Court, not because of the educational system, not because of the social structure, but because of the church. You broke my covenant. I called you to be a witness in this world of darkness. Let your light so shine among men. They don't even know that we're saved. They don't even know that we go to church on Sunday. They have to drag it out of us. Don't you like a dentist when he shows you the big pair of channel locks and says, now let me go to work? And he's smiling about it. If he even acted like he said, I really don't enjoy it, but they love it. I just can't wait to inflict some pain on you. That's Satan. Satan is coming to inflict pain because he knows, I got you. I got you as a nation. I got your next generation. You tell me. 100 and some students graduate tonight at Kaiser. 100 and some probably over at Hampshire. You tell me how many of Satan know? How many of them walk across and they declare and they say, my Jesus is Lord of my life? There's some. Praise God for them. But there's so few. And how many of them makes it to a 58-year reunion that can say, since the day that I graduated till this day, I have lived and served the Lord. I have spent and being spent for the cause of Christ. I am now ready, as a 120-year-old man, I am now ready to meet my Lord face to face because I've lived my life for him. Few and far between. Few and far between. They broke the covenant. They set up idols. They turned away. They had to go for money. They had to go for entertainment. They had to go for ease. And they forgot who they were serving. And God says, because of that, now all these evils have come to pass. I will turn my face away from you. And when all these troubles and difficulties, then maybe you'll turn to me. That's the reason that I say. Is that we are long overdue for a major cataclysmic event that will shake us once more to say, hey, 9/11, what good did it do? Oh, the churches were never more full for the 3 months preceding September, October, November. But by the 1st of 2012, January 2012, there was never a lower attendance in churches than that point. Now, 2012 to 2017, did we get smarter or dumber? Did we learn and grow from that experience or not? I'm nailing on the roof. I hit the wrong nail. Wasn't supposed to hit that one. That just was too much fun. I think I'll do it again.
Right.
You say, well, you done lost your mind. You've been out in the sun too long. You warped. What do they say? Hit me again. This drug thing. We've all suffered because of that. So what? Let's legalize it. Yeah, let's have some fun with it. Hey, let's gay and lesbian rights. Let's just give them what they want. You know, they'll only make up 3% of our population, but hey, let's make it the majority for everybody. Let's you 97% of fundamentalist evangelical Christianity, right-wing Republican, whatever else they call us, you guys just suffer and learn to get along. Can't we all get along? God says, and I'll turn my face away from you. And you'll watch it. You think of Jeremiah, all that he saw. He foretold all that was going to happen. He knew what was coming down the pike. He didn't get taken out like Moses. Jeremiah had to go through it. That man suffered. Suffered. That's the reason that when you read the book of Lamentations, 5 short chapters of nothing but pure woe. You know what bothers me more than anything? That before the Lord takes me out of here, I'm going to have to write a book of Lamentations. Woe. We wouldn't pray. We wouldn't fast. We wouldn't weep. And we wouldn't tell anybody. You got to go and tell somebody. Eternity's coming. You got to go and say to them, is he going to be standing or sitting when you meet him face to face? Because again, you can open it up. Hey, are you going to die and go to heaven? Oh, yeah, because, everybody goes to heaven, right? Sure, I'm going to heaven. I'm not such a bad guy. I'm not as bad as that guy. I haven't done as bad as this one or that one. I'm okay. Well, is Jesus going to be standing or sitting when you meet him? What kind of stupid question is that? Well, it's a biblical question. Because you see, in Acts chapter 7, we was just looking when Stephen was being stoned for his faith, he saw Christ standing. So that means Christ meets his saints standing up. So is he going to be standing or sitting when you meet him? You probably won't have an answer for that one. But right then and there, you put the seed to think about eternity, to think about meeting Jesus, and to think about what he's going to say when he meets you face to face. Turn my face away from you. Well, that's where we're at. And all these evils come upon us. That's where we're at. And the church has the remedy. We have the resource. Come boldly before the throne of grace to obtain mercy and find help in time of need. Is this a time of need? Absolutely. So come boldly, not sheepishly, not negligently, never come. Come boldly and petition him. Little circle over here I got. Lord, here's all these lost souls, that names and faces that jot through my mind when we start praying. Here, Lord, here's these needs, broken relationships, broken families. Every week, every other week, someone writes or someone sends a text and says, hey, remember us, we're struggling. Hey, I got a daughter. Hey, I got a son. They're wayward. Man, we didn't raise them this way. We raised them in church. Bring up a child in the ways that they should go, and when they're old, they'll not depart from it. And they're out there in sin, and they're out there, and I don't know what's going to happen or how their hearts are broke. You just can, words, you can feel the emotion coming out of it. Got a whole pot full of these that I pray for. And you come over here, and here's the cancers, and here's the disease, and here's the needs and all these requests that comes in, and here's the church, missionaries and pastors, and the work of the kingdom that needs to be done, and ought to be done, and should be done, and you're crying out to a God, help! Don't turn your face away. It's too dark of an hour. Too great of a need. These are real cases. These are real names and real faces and real events and real moments. And God, I need you. I play a song almost over and over of Chris Tomlinson, Lord, I need you. And I'll put it on my YouTube, and it's just a prayer, it's just a cry. You read those words that God said to Moses and Joshua. Can you not see that we're in that day? He says it 3 times, in that day. Goodness. That's June 3rd, 2017. That's today. Now, I've been confused before. Don't say anything. What day is this? Where are we at now? What's going on? And I lose track. Yeah, June. Whatever. June 2nd, June 4th, June 3rd. Yeah, one of those days. It sounds right. Yeah, somewhere else. How old are you? I don't remember. I'm like some of you. Marina, I can't. Where are you at now?
I'm getting there.
1904. What was it?
Right.
I lose track of what day it is. But when I read this and I see in that day, these things will happen. The reason that these things will happen is because of the response of the people. God is consistent. And unfortunately, men are consistent. Doing the same thing, the same way. How can we expect God to act any other way? I don't expect the world to understand. I don't expect for them to dialogue about it, blog about it, social media about it. But the church ought to. We got to get back to the 1970s Assembly of God. It was at the altar, an hour before church began and an hour after church, and crying out, Lord, we're perishing. Rescue the perishing, care for the dying. Jesus is calling. You know, there are a lot of people in these afflictions, in these dire circumstances, one right after another, coming every week. And we've watched this for years, the escalation of all these things happening. It just hasn't touched our heart enough to move us to do something about it. Oh, now, when it gets personal, when it lands in our backyard, now we're upset. Now we're ready to respond. But while it was out there happening in the headlines, hey, I don't know any 16-year-old like out there in Oregon or Washington, wherever she was at, to kill an Uber driver like she did. Nobody in West Virginia would ever do anything like that. No, that would never happen here. Cumberland, there's a man, they locked down one of the schools down in Cumberland, Maryland, because they saw a guy with a gun walking around in the streets. And again, in this day and age, who could take any chance, right? Oh, well, that never happened in Hampshire County. That never happened in Mineral County. Are we that naive? It's on us in that day. So God stirs His people. He reveals these truths to us. We have eyes to see it. We have ears to hear it. We've got a mind to understand it. 2 plus 2 is 4. You turn away from me. I'll turn away from you. And this is what the product will be. Days of Eden. And that's why we're here. But He also gave us an answer. He also gave us a way to undo that. If my people, you know I don't quote 2 Chronicles 7:14 much, because I just don't. Church will quote it, but they never do it. But He gave it to us for a promise. If my people, which are called by my name, church, humble themselves, bow the knee, pray, what we just did for 45 minutes. Seek my face, turn away from our wicked ways, repent. Then God says what? I'll hear in heaven, I'll heal you, and I'll return to you. You do your part, and I'll do my part. Well, that's Old Testament, Dan. What about New Testament? Well, let's go over to 1 John. If my children, my people, the church, confess their sins, their faults, then I, which sits in heaven, will hear you, forgive you, and restore you. That sounds pretty good to me. He won't do that till we do what? If my people confess their faults, own up to it. My fault. Our fault. We fell. We allowed for this day to come. We broke the covenant. We're not walking holy. We're not righteous. We shortchanged. We second guess. God says, with your whole heart, come after me. Well, Lord, I've only been doing it half-hearted. Well, get serious. Like Ravenhill said it. He said, when are you going to get serious about being serious about the most serious thing in all this world? Echoing in my mind and my heart, there's that cry. In that day, I will turn my face away from you. But I come boldly before the throne of grace. And I grab hold of the horns of the altar, and I said, God, don't turn your face away. I'm talking to you. He said, you can't talk to God like that. Moses did. God says, Moses, step aside. I'm going to consume them people. And Moses said what? Okay, go ahead. No. He stepped right back in front of God and he said, you can't do this, God. You're too long-suffering. You're too merciful. You're too loving-kindness. Don't do this to your covenant, to your people. You and I as the church today to do the same thing. I'm going to consume them in a moment. And the church steps right in front of God and says, you can't do this. Don't turn your face away from us. Don't let these evils continue. Don't let Satan have his will and way in this. Now, I drove 18 miles from my house over to here with a car with no freight on. And I come in and I watch a guy out there in his yard mowing the yard. I watch a guy in the backyard. Now, I'm a people watcher. I glance at all this stuff. I saw the guy. They was out there. They had 4x4 things up in the backyard on the back of the house. I said, well, they're building the patio. They're building the porch on Sunday. Lord, may the termites eat every bit of it. I got a guy. He's power washing out there. He's got the weed eater. He's trimming around the tractor. Lord, may the vermin get them all. Because I'm on my way to church. Well, on the day of the Lord, I'm right next to business over there. And they start first thing in the morning. I'm out there in my white shirt and my suit pants. And I'm picking up the yard because people are coming into our house for church. And I'm out there watching them as they get out, slovenly out into the tractor farm fleet and all that stuff to do their little bit for the day because they have no interest in church. They have no interest that it's the Lord's day. They have no interest. They broke the covenant a long time ago. They don't know any better. And they're not going to do any better because Satan's got them. But not you. You know better. To him that knows to do good and does not do it, to him it is sin. And if sin is present, then holiness isn't. And he commanded us, be ye holy, for I am holy. My holy covenant, my holy people, my holy Bible, my holy house, my holy day. Lord, forgive us. We're not where we're supposed to be. And that's why all these evils are coming upon us. You turn your face away. And I come to the altar. I come boldly. You will turn. And listen, you will answer me. Because you said, and you cannot lie, Jeremiah 33:3, call unto me, and I will answer you, and show you great and mighty things which thou knowest not. I will not be denied. He gives us that promise, that opportunity, that in that day, which is this day, these things are happening, and we can make a difference for His glory and for His honor. So let's prepare now to close. Holy Father, we come before